Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Voices from the Mausoleum, and welcome back to an episode of Horror Movie Remakes with my co-host, Scott Harding from the You Run Podcast.
Hello, how are you?
Hello. Good, how are you?
I'm good, very good. Very good. I'm looking forward to this one a lot.
Are you?
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. Yeah, I think this should be an interesting conversation.
Yeah. Well, we agreed last time. We agreed back in February, so you never know. Could do it twice.
And January and December.
Oh, okay. Maybe could it be 4 in a row?
It's just not good. I feel like an elder god is gonna like come up from the core of the earth. Something bad's gonna happen.
Yeah. If we get to 6, that's it. If we get to like if we get to 6 in a row, everyone needs to start worrying. Start packing like go bags and be ready to go.
Yeah. Find a safe bunker somewhere. Yeah. So today we are talking the 2015 remake of Poltergeist. If you're new here, Poltergeist is influential horror for me. It's one of my favorite movies. It's like my gateway to horror, my first memory of life. Very important film to me in general. So obviously we had to discuss this. Of course, you have a lot of love for the original as well.
It's in my top 5 horror movies of all time.
Yeah.
So yeah. I the original is a masterpiece.
Agreed. 10 out of 10. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
we've just agreed again. Damn it.
Well, to be fair, we already knew about that one. When you and Mark did the episode, I was like nervous, but I was thinking, I'm like, there's no way they're going to trash Poltergeist. No way. Like, but I remember going into it like a little nervous.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant film. Great film. Can't be faulted as far as I'm concerned.
No, I'm inclined to agree. It's amazing. It has not lost its magic in all this time. I love that movie.
No.
Yeah, so with that being a 10 out of 10, what are you giving this one?
This might surprise you, but an 8 out of 10.
Oh my God.
This is quite a universally hated remake. If you look at people who want to give an example of a bad remake, this is their go-to. And I'm sorry, if you're one of those people watching now, you're wrong.
Well, 8 out of 10. I have to process that for a second. I didn't expect you to rate it that high. Okay. So for me, okay. So for me, this is probably, I'm going to stick with my rating from last time. This is like a 6 for me. I have to think, when I think about this one, I actually genuinely struggled with, because I just rewatched it to get ready for this conversation because I hadn't seen it in a while. And I genuinely struggled keeping in mind that, what I wanted to love it, but then how I actually felt about it. And it took I had to really think through those emotions. But yeah, I think it's got some strong points, but there are some things about it that just didn't hit for me.
Yeah. Yeah, and the only thing that doesn't hit for me is the CGI. The CGI is dated. It's dated badly, and it's dated quick. Casting's outstanding. There's elements in this that I think are done better than the original and scarier than the original. I didn't think you'd agree. The clown in this is infinitely scarier than it was in the original. And I don't know if that's because Scary Movie ruined the original clown for me, but I definitely find the clown in this one scarier.
I didn't. Yeah, the clown didn't scare me in this one, and I actually have an aversion to clowns. Clowns freak me out. I didn't think the clown was very effective in this.
Oh, really? No, I really liked the clown.
I think that what I think did work with the clown is the multiples. So, when he's in the dark and the multiple ones are moving around the room, I think that was effective as far as the use of the clown doll. But Yeah, I don't know. Well, and to be fair, a lot of the feelings about this one, once again, are coming from my origin of horror with being so invested in Poltergeist and how scary the original was because I was way too young to be watching it when I saw it. And so that movie was terrifying to me versus
Yeah.
seeing this as an adult. So it's very conflicting emotions. But I think that the scene with the multiple clowns moving around the room was really good. But overall, the clown wasn't effective for me.
Yeah. What did you find effective in this? Because you've given it a 6. That's not a bad score.
No. So I think some of the things that they stuck true to is the family dynamic, which is really important to me because that's one of the things I love so much about the original. I think the mom does some things that don't make me very happy and says some things to her kids that kind of make me want to throat punch her. But outside of that, there's a lot of really great family moments. And that was one of the things that I've always thought was so heartwarming about the original is the family strength, the way that they are with one another, the way they are with their kids, and just the relationships within their household. And that was just something that always felt very real and like, I don't know, I just really appreciated that. And so in this one, there's a couple things that are a little less loving that the mom does that, like I said, I didn't really care for. But like one of the moments, for example, is when the dad is sitting down with the son and he says, he's like, I'm really scared, and he says, okay. He says, I'm really scared too. He says, so what do we do about it? And he says, and he's like thinking, and he tells him, he's like, well, I'm thinking about, what, like they start talking about the sister, and they're like, he's like this conversation with them about fear. And he says to him, he goes, I'm still scared. And his dad goes, yeah, I'm still scared too. And he says, but I do feel braver. I loved
Yeah.
that scene. Like that little moment between them is like, that felt like how I would talk to my son, obviously, probably, hopefully not in that situation, but you get what I'm saying? Like, it felt very real and loving. And there were several moments like that throughout the film that I thought made me kind of go back to how much I loved the family dynamic in the original.
So, what's your take on the recasting of I don't know what we'll call him or her, the clairvoyant guy in this one, who's obviously replacing the
Oh,
little old
Kieran.
lady. Yeah.
Yeah,
The actor, I think, is outstanding.
I
He's a
love him.
fantastic actor.
I love him. Yeah, no, he's great.
I was shocked when I first saw it. I was shocked that they made the choice to resex the character because that completely changed the dynamic of the
Everything.
character. It changed everything, and it took me a while to get my head around it. And I think on the first watch I didn't. Second watch I was much more. Yeah, I quite like this. This guy's great.
Yeah, I think I was pretty similar because this was another one I went back to rewatch after not seeing it for a while, and I remembered not liking it the first watch around, and maybe it's just because I needed to process it, or some things just require a rewatch, especially in horror. I feel like, but yeah, I mean, I like him. That helps. I think if it had been somebody that I wasn't familiar with or somebody that I had never seen before, I don't know if it would have worked as well. Acting aside, like just being able to put someone that we know from other horror things. I know him from other just normal like movies, like, and then putting him in this role, I think that was really smart. But I don't know. I liked him, but he wasn't as like, I don't know what to call it. Like I wasn't as connected to him, I
He
guess,
wa- he
emotionally.
wasn't.
Like I didn't feel invested as much as I was,
Yeah,
before in
I
the
I
original.
didn't feel that he had the same level of care and worry about the
No,
family.
no.
Um, and if
Yeah,
I
that's what
might
I
have,
mean. Like, yeah,
yeah, he was the original character was very hold the family's hand. Don't worry, we're going to get this all sorted out. And he's very much like, let's just get it done. Let's get it done. Do it now. And it took a while to get my head around that, but I quite like the fact that he is a bit more withdrawn from the family. It is very much more like a job for him,
yep,
and I
yeah.
quite like that on a second watch. I like that they made the decision to make him more. I don't know, more almost more Ed Warren like, the Conjuring Ed Warren like. He's very that guy.
Yeah, and I think and I think there is an arc there with that because he comes in that way. But the
Hmm.
longer he's there, there is a softness that happens, like when he and Sam Rockwell's character, the dad, they're holding what's it called? Rope. Thank you. Words are hard.
Yeah, the
Rope.
rock.
They're holding the rope. The rock. Well, I just said Rockwell, so rock was like fresh in my mind. They're holding the rope. I don't know. I blame it on like being tired or something, but it's like the middle of the day for me. Anyway, so he's holding they're holding the rope, and he tells him, because he's been cold up to this point, like you said, and he tells him, he says, "I'm counting on you." And there's this brief passing of glances that happens between the two characters, and his face softens, and he just kind of sort of nods like, okay, like this isn't just this anymore. Like, this is to help this family get their children back. Like, this is a big deal. And it was just a simple moment, but I think it was conveyed very effectively through facial features alone, because he didn't say anything. He looks back at him, he makes a face, and then, and it moves on from there. And then of course the ending, when or towards the end, when when he goes outside, and the teenage daughter's like, "Hey, like, say it." He's like, "I'm not saying it." Like, and then he tells the little boy about the scar on his head. Like, he opens up to them a little later, but it's kind of like a journey for him, because like you said, I mean, and he's probably, if he faces stuff like this on a regular basis, he's probably worn out from doing it, so it is a job. It's a chore to do it. And so to connect with a family is something that would maybe take a little bit longer. So I felt that part was believable, even if I still preferred like the immediate loving care we got in the original.
Yeah. And one thing I do like in this is how they deal with technology. Technology is quite a prevalent part of this. And you've got the girl playing on her phone, and then her phone's not working properly. And even like, one of the things that made the original Poltergeist scary was the big old back CRT TV, and she's touching it. And being a kid that's had a TV like that, I know when you touch a TV like that, you can feel the static all through your hands and your arms and your hair. And I was worried that they would make the TV touch I knew was coming. And I thought, it's like, you just touch an LCD screen, who cares?
Yeah.
And they made a thing of like the hand, the other side, and like the way they made instead of it just being static, they made more of it. I liked that a lot.
I think that was a really smart move because of the change in technology. I agree. Well, and I like, because when they get into the house, the realtor's like, oh, it's like wired to the whatever, because the person that lived there before. And it's like, because we had the tastes, like, Poltergeist in general, like, you can look into the statements of like technology and family and all of that anyway, right? Technology taking over the world. So like, when you watch it, it does have like those technology things throughout. And this just kind of like amplified that with newer things, which was cool. I even liked like the use of the drone. I thought was a really cool concept. As far as, the shots with it, we can talk about in a second, but like, as far as like conceptually speaking, I thought that was really cool too. The one thing I didn't like though about the occurrences is in the original, the mom has that chair thing, where she like experiences. And I didn't like that the parents didn't experience anything up to that point, other than the static thing. Like, they didn't really have a lot of things happen to them. I just felt like it. So the transition from not knowing very much to believing your children, obviously before she gets taken, felt a little unrealistic to me, because they hadn't really had the same experiences. But other than that, the use of the technology stuff I thought was really smart.
Yeah. And I think the believing thing, I get that. I can see how that it's a leap. It's a leap of faith by the parents, because you and me have both got kids, and the amount of monsters I've removed from cupboards and under beds, and I didn't instantly go, "What? There's a monster, really? Oh, quick! Come, you come downstairs with me, and we'll sit and hide under a cover and watch TV just until the monster goes." I've instantly gone, "No, there's not. Don't be so silly." And I think that would have been the genuine reaction of the parents. No, that's not true. You're telling me lies, aren't you?
Yeah. And I think like that whole like that part, I think it would have been such a simple thing to have them have some stuff happen beforehand. because like I just that would have just added like because the general transition from we've got this new house, we're dealing with all these other things, money problems, not having a job, and like we're getting used to the family dynamic, whatever. But then it's like it literally goes from that to boom, we've called in, these paranormal investigators, and we've got like it was too quick, I guess, without very much logic, I suppose. I guess is like what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I liked the fact that they changed the story with the family as well. So obviously in the original, you've got the dad
Oh,
who's a realtor. He's very successful. He's been given this house because he's doing really well. I liked the
great
fact that
job.
they changed that, and you've got a dad who's down on his luck. He's unemployed, and they're genuinely grateful for having this house, which is
Yeah.
why they're very reluctant to believe anything bad. Like even when they're told at the dinner party they go to, they're told it was
Oh,
on an
that
old.
they're yeah.
Yeah, even then, the dad's almost like, "Ah, that's nice. Never mind."
Yeah, that sucks. And then he said, because he's like, isn't that first of all, there's a lot more comedy in this one too, which I actually didn't hate. There's a lot of moments where I laugh. And Sam Rockwell is I love him. I think he's fantastic. But he's like that part where he's like, because he says he's like, isn't that like a bad thing? Like he's like when they're talking about moving all those graves, they're like moving all the graves, and they're like, oh no, like they can still go see them. It's not that far. Like it's like the whole conversation around it is like, what the
Yeah, but at the end of it, he's kind of like, "Oh, okay." He's genuinely kind of
That's it. It's a
unfazed by
quick
it.
yeah, he's just like, "Oh, that's not good probably, but okay, I guess this is just life." Like
Yeah, okay, never mind. My house was really cheap. Did I tell you how cheap my house was? It's kind of that vibe, but I like it.
I know. Yeah. Yeah. And I liked the interactions with the I forget the guy's name. The younger guy that comes in with the crew,
Yeah,
the non-believer or the one that
yeah,
says he believes, but he's like tells the little boy like, "Oh, this would be a great idea." If I ever heard so like, obviously like the situation probably won't happen to me, but if I ever heard somebody talking to my son like that about, I would like nut up. I'd be so pissed. Like, but the little boy handles it really well. He's like, I don't want it. We don't want a reality show. We just want my sister back, And I'm
yeah,
like, oh, good for you. But that guy, like he was, when he's talking about the camera and like the piano moving across the room and it taking 7 hours, and then the chair flies up and hits the wall. And the dad's like, "Did you catch that on your?" It's just like,
yeah.
what
And that is a callback to the original because that's
yeah.
he's saying he watched a toy car move and it took
The move?
12
Yeah,
hours and then they opened the door and everything's
everything's spinning around.
yeah.
Yeah, that
One
was
thing
really
I
cute though.
one thing that's really bad in this is the special effects, and it's not that they're
Yeah,
bad because when this first came out they were good, but if you compare the visual effects in this to the original Poltergeist, which came out in 1982, the original Poltergeist is better, especially the remastered version is very good,
yeah, yeah.
which I
Uh,
think is a big letdown for this film.
yeah, and I was talking to so my friend Poltergeist Steve is a big Poltergeist fan as well. And he has a beast tattoo as well. And he's like, so I messaged him when I was rewatching it. I was like, what did you think of this remake? Because we hadn't talked about it. And he said this, and I really do agree. When we get to see, the drone sequence and we're going through and we're seeing the walls that are made up of the, all that stuff, the other side. He said that he felt like that part looked really generic. And I couldn't quite place what it was I didn't like about it, but that's what it is. It's
Yeah,
very like generic. Like there's not a lot of like I don't know what you'd say about it. It's just very like okay, I guess. Like but there was nothing special about it. It didn't like to me it wasn't really that unsettling. There's that one part with the hand that comes
yeah,
around the wall. That was cool. But then the more of it we see, the less cool it becomes.
yeah. And I think it's one of those things that had they shown had they shown snippets of that, had the footage from the drone been dipping in and out, same as you do with the found footage, you get a snip, a snip, a snip. Had they done that and interspersed that by flicking back to
Yeah,
the people in the house, that would have made that scene infinitely better.
more uncomfortable. Yeah. Yeah, the oversaturation gives you too much time to pick out flaws in it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it does.
yeah,
I don't know. I score it high, and I think that's because I really appreciate the effort they went to. You can tell the people who made this took time and actually cared about the
yeah.
original movie.
Yeah. Oh, I wholeheartedly agree. I think that's one of the reasons it's not lower for me too. I think this is a very respectful remake. There wasn't I like you said, like you don't get the impression that this was a cash grab per se. You don't get the impression that this was just thrown together. Like, I definitely think and they obviously took time with the character stuff too, which is super important, not just in a poltergeist film, but to me as a viewer for horror in general. If there's no story, if there's no character development, and I can't connect to the people that this shit is happening to, I'm going to be checked out of it. It's not going to be effective. I'm not going to enjoy it. And they were able to do that because I still cared. Those heartwarming moments, when they come through and they land on the mattress and they take the kids to the bathtub, and that whole scene, like, I felt for that. Like, I mean, I'm a mom, like, I'm sure you're a parent, like, you feel like that if something were to happen to your children and you're trying and they won't wake up for that that's like, and that feels like
Yeah,
an eternity. That sequence felt like it lasted forever, because even though I'd already seen it and I knew what happened, I was like terrified for them as a family, and those scenes are effective because of the character building, because of the writing for the family. Like, that's
yeah,
why it works.
yeah. I think. Do you know what the reason I think this gets so much hate is when it came out? It came out 2015, which
Yeah.
is 2 years after The Conjuring. And I think everyone compared this to The Conjuring, and The
Really?
Conjuring is infinitely better.
I can see that. I have never personally compared it to The Conjuring, but I think that's because of my like history with the film, with Poltergeist in general. But I can see why people would feel that way. But it's, I mean, I don't, yeah, I didn't really think about that.
If
2000, yeah,
you,
2015
yeah, so 2013 was The Conjuring.
was when the
You had
first
the
Conjuring.
big wave of The Conjuring. Then you had this come out in 2015. I think The Conjuring 2 was the tail end of 2015. So it was after
Yeah,
this.
it was in 2015. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Well, I don't know. And I'm not, that probably really, I can see that. I can see people making the comparison and being like annoyed about it. But I also think like whenever we talk old movies, like classics that are rebooted or remade or whatever, I feel like people naturally go in with a disdain. Like, I feel like it's so hard for people to go into any remake, but especially ones around cult classics, which is exactly what's going to happen with The Exorcist. I feel like people go into those films ready to hate them. Ready to hate them. They don't want to give them a chance. They just want to bitch and complain about them, because as soon as they released because we just got a release date for The Exorcist.
yes,
And as soon as the release date came out, I saw so many people shit talking. Like, they're not even going into it, even allowing it to be a success. And when you go into a film like that, you're watering down your experience. So naturally, you're going to walk out like mad and thinking it wasn't that great.
yeah, and it's the same as the big one at the moment that everyone seems upset about is the Crow reboot.
Yeah, exactly. It's a
And
classic. People are connected to that film.
yeah, and I understand the reasons people are connected. And one of the
Yeah.
big arguments for why reboots are good is like my teenage boys have never seen The Crow, for
Mhm.
example, and they're not going to watch The Crow because it's an old movie and they've got zero interest in an old movie.
Yeah.
But if a new movie comes out starring Bill Skarsgård, who they all know, they'll go and watch that and they'll go, that was really good. What's the original like? And they will then go and watch the original that they wouldn't have bothered with before. And that's my biggest argument of why reboots are good.
Yeah. And that happens even with bad ones, which we talked about before, I think, with Nightmare
Yeah,
on Elm Street, because even if it's bad, it can strike curiosity and turn people into to these franchises that they've never experienced before. And it just, it's, yeah, I mean, it's a necessary evil. I know a lot of people, I always hear like, oh, there's no, there's nothing new in horror, which I'm going to be honest, that's like the farthest fucking thing from the truth. If you're paying
yeah,
attention to the horror community, that simply is not a valid argument. And
no,
just because something is rebooted does not mean that no one has an original thought, because you can watch a remake and it can still be a unique film. It doesn't
yeah,
have to be, like you said, like step for step for the original. And I think like I would be willing to bet that plays a lot into why people didn't like the Poltergeist remake, because I mean, and not like I'm not like a like I don't like I'm not like the gatekeeper for Poltergeist, but if someone like me who has the connection to this film that I do. I mean, this is literally the movie that started my love for horror. This is something that was cultivated a very close relationship with my sister and me watching horror movies together while I was growing up. It's a very big film for me. If I can go into this remake with open heart as to see what it's about, I don't know why other people can't do that with other movies. Like,
no, no, I don't. And I think one of the biggest, probably, the comment I spend most of my time answering on TikTok and Instagram when I post something about remakes is
hmm,
there's nothing new in horror. And I tend to find that the people who say this are incredibly badly educated about horror, because I'll rattle off 15 horror movies that were brand new and original last year. And they
mm-hmm.
go, the normal response to that is, I've not seen any of them. Go and watch some of them then.
Yeah.
My favourite go to is Deadstream. Say Deadstream, they go, what? What's that?
Mm-hmm.
And I know it's one that is so original that when people go and watch it, they're like, oh, okay, yeah, that is an original thought. I'll take that.
Yeah, and then too, I think the other thing is like, a lot of people who stick to like big news mainstream horror are missing out on a lot of really good stuff, because when you've got stuff like Tubi and you've got stuff like Shutter and now this other one which I don't have yet, but the Screenbox one or whatever, these are avenues for indie filmmakers to put new films out. Like,
Yeah,
and now because they're doing it, bigger streaming services are doing it too. And so now you're getting all of these new ideas that aren't come from these like mass horror producing, big time producing, or these companies that like do. Sorry, my cat got up, it distracted me. I totally broke my chain of thought. These big companies, like you're not talking about a Paramount film or a Warner Brothers horror movie. You're talking about something that is made with love and effort and time, and it was just given a big break by these other, these
yeah,
streaming services. And that's where a lot of the unique stuff is. Like, it's not, I mean, we're still getting some unique in the bigger side, but Deadstream is an indie film. Like,
yeah,
it's an indie creator. Joseph Winter is an indie filmmaker. Like,
yeah,
so, and it's, yeah, that argument irritates me, because it's like, that just tells me that you're not paying attention, that you're waiting on this big production company to produce you a horror trailer for a new movie, and you're expecting that to be the only way to watch anything good.
yeah. And it really annoys me, especially especially last year. Last year we had so much good new horror.
It's hard to
And
keep up.
yeah, and you say things like, well, how about Fresh? What's Fresh? Oh,
Fresh was
come
good.
on. Why do you not know about these movies? The other one that really bugged me is I had lots of people who refused to watch Prey.
Prey was so good.
They, but people like flat out refuse. They're like, no, I'm not watching it. It'll never be as good as the original. Well, it's just not trying to be. It's
It's
trying
not
to be its
trying to
own
be.
thing. Yeah, but
No. I think I'm hoping that with as much attention as indie films and newer films are getting opportunities to put their stuff out there, I'm hoping that some of that is going to get a little bit better. Because, like, I mean, when Deadstream came out, all of a sudden everybody loved found footage, and I'm like, where the hell were y'all when I wanted to talk found footage? Everybody hated it. I hated Cloverfield. Okay, but do you know how many found footage movies there are? Thousands. Like, there's so many, and you're like this is the only one because it was the one in theaters. Give me a break. Like, but it opened up like a whole new world of conversation around found footage, because Like, and it wasn't the only one. The VHS series has done it a little bit, but I mean, Deadstream, like after that came out, that was all I saw. Top 10 found footage movies. I'm gonna start watching found footage. Give me your best recommends, like things I've never seen people talk about with found footage, like ever.
Yeah, and it only takes that one, and I think with remakes that's the same. You can
Yeah.
get if someone can get a remake right, and I think Poltergeist nearly did, but if someone can get it
Yeah.
just right, it can
Mhm.
revive a franchise. Look at The Evil Dead. That
Right.
remake, that remake brought back to life The Evil Dead. We got Ash versus the Evil Dead series, and
And then
then
now,
Evil Dead
yeah.
Rise.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone who hates on that 2013 remake might always go to is, do you like the series Ash versus the Evil Dead? Yes. Well, without that remake, you wouldn't have had it. So
Yeah, and you said the same thing about Child's Play.
yeah,
Yeah, people hated that redo, but it opened up the popularity for there to be a show, the
yeah,
Chucky show. Mhm.
yeah. I wish Poltergeist had done better, and I wish it wasn't as hated on as it is.
Yeah. I don't know. I did not appreciate it as a first watch. But I did go back and rewatch it and I feel a lot different about it now. I don't think if I hadn't rewatched it, I would have rated it a lot lower. So I'm glad that I went back and rewatched it. And that's the thing too. Like when there's changes in a remake, like watch it more than once. Like give it more than one time over to before you make your decision. Like, you know.
Yeah, I think you need to, especially when it's a big remake.
Hmm. Yeah. Well,
You do know there's talks of them doing another Poltergeist remake.
I did know that. I talked about
Mm.
that with my friend I mentioned earlier. About there being talks about another. It's not like confirmed or anything though. It's just a
No,
conversation right now, I think.
it's a conversation apparently being led by Steven Spielberg.
Steven
Spielberg wants to
Spielberg.
return back to it and do it again.
Yeah. I had a lot of mixed feelings about the way everything was handled with the third one, especially after she died and like ugh. But I think that yeah, I mean, I think putting it in the right hands, I think it could be even better than this one was for sure. That's our episode on the 2015 Poltergeist remake. Um, we know what our next one's going to be, but we don't tell, so you'll have to see. But Scott and I will be back next month with another episode of horror movie remakes. Hope you guys have a good rest of your week. Enjoy your weekend, and we will see you in the next one.
See you later.